Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 7th of October. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined by Stevie Clifford. Apologies for the lateness, folks. A few gremlins in the system, but we have rectified those issues, and we are here. How goes it, Stevie?
I'm good, mate. Do you know, I was terrified. Do you remember last year I got that email blaming me for constantly being late on Rangers Review? And I was here in plenty of time, folks. I'll have you know, I was here a couple of minutes early, so not my fault today, Derek. But I am just, as you said, technical issues. So hopefully we can give people a good show.
Yep, a few sound problems, but we're coming over loud and clear, so all well and good. Before we get stuck right in, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, the great guys at the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust, and proud partners of the Rangers Review. If you're looking for a new fence, these are the guys to call. They offer free consultations and 10% off with the code Rangers Review over on their website, which is willows-fencing.com. Right, lots to discuss. Steve, we've not had you on since the events over the weekend at Rangers finally ending the Russell Martin misery that we were all put through. 123 days as head coach, the shortest reign ever for a Rangers manager, the worst ever winning percentage of any manager, both permanent and temporary, in the club's history. And the move was made after that dismal 1-1 draw at the Falkirk Stadium late on Sunday night, and the search has now begun for a new manager. We'll get into the open letter to the supporters in a little while. Your thoughts on the weekend's events, or Sunday's events, I guess?
Hey, another awful performance, Derek. Lacked so much. It lacked any real intensity. It lacked proper structure. It lacked so much. But sadly, it became normal of what we'd seen under Russell Martin. And the players look like they've given up, which we can discuss, obviously, which is a separate thing. But there was all the things that we had kind of talked about, unfortunately, were evident again in Falkirk. And it really couldn't go on, Derek. There wasn't any signs, even small signs, of us beginning to get out of this or beginning to show signs of improvement. They were fleeting at best. For example, on Sunday, we actually scored a very nice goal, which was a good move. But unfortunately, Derek, these things are all very, very fleeting. You know, Falkirk, they must have crossed the ball 25 times on Sunday. I don't have the stats to hand, but the amount of crosses they put in were incredible. They were doubling up on our fullbacks every single time, and it's stuff like that. We just didn't seem to know how to combat it. And then even the goal they scored, we were slow to get out. It's just, it seems to just lack a desire. It lacked everything. And when I previously questioned Russell Martin on these things, it's because of what we were seeing that I was able to ask him those things. And when it came to Sunday at full time, it just strengthened my belief even more that we were never really going to get any better under this current regime, current management, and change had to be made. And that was my overriding feeling. There had been rumours, Derek, over the weekend that no matter how Sunday went, that his time in the job was up. So when it came to Sunday night, we were almost prepped into it and thinking that that news was going to come. But I was surprised at how quickly they moved after the game finished on Sunday evening. So it had to happen. Unfortunately for us, it's never nice when it does happen. But Russell Martin's tenure at Rangers has been pretty much disastrous when you look at the results in the league. There's a proverbial mountain to climb there, but also the damage done to us in the Europa League. 2 really poor defeats against opposition that in recent years we would have done a lot better. And so, unfortunately, Derek, whoever comes in doesn't have a magic wand. They have a squad which hopefully he can begin to turn around, but he's left with a massive job to do, whoever it is and whoever they choose, and it's largely because of Russell Martin's tenure, which, as I said, I don't use the words lightly. It was pretty much disastrous from word go.
Yeah, my issue, and I said this yesterday, is they allowed this to continue. We all knew it was going to end one way, and they've allowed this to linger, and we now found ourselves in 11 points behind league leaders Hearts, 9 behind Celtic, languishing in 8th place. For me, any hopes of, and I'll touch on what Andrew Cavenagh thinks shortly, but the title race is over for me, Stevie. I cannot see Rangers. I don't think this team is good enough to go on a sustained run and expect the teams, those Hearts and Celtic, to drop a gargantuan amount of points for Rangers to overtake them and then some. This is a decision that should have been made weeks ago, should it not?
In truth, yes. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I'll be honest, I first started to call for the removal after Bruges away, and it was the startling manner of that defeat for me.
Yeah.
The way that the team almost gave up, Derek, and I don't like saying that, but on viewing it, it was really difficult to think anything otherwise. And it was a really difficult one to endure. And I thought at that point, that's really wrong. Hearts at home, again, you could argue that we were undone by decisions, but there was just a very flat performance. And I got criticised for saying that I think Hearts would have won anyway. We're never ever going to find that out. But Rangers that day were like others, very flat, very slow build up, very fleeting moments of possession and attacking possession. They had plenty of the ball, but just nothing there. And then Genk and Graz and Livy and Falkirk, it all just merges into one, Derek, unfortunately. And yes, I think after Celtic and going into that international break, I think most likely that's when it should have been done. They've tried, and I understand why they've done it, because we don't want to be stuck in this repeat cycle. That's 3 managers this year. We don't want to be stuck in this repeat cycle, and I understand it completely. But sometimes, Derek, when it's not right, it's not right. And Leverkusen done it to Ten Hag. I think Palace done it to Frank de Boer, and when it's not right, you just have to fix it and change it. And unfortunately, as early as it is for Russell Martin, it's also way later than it really should have been.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's get to that open letter then. We've heard now from Andrew Cavenagh and Vice Chairman Cavenagh Marathe. They have broke their silence. They've admitted that they've got the appointment wrong in an open letter to supporters. I'll read you what it has to say, folks. It says, "Dear supporters, as you have seen by now, we are making a change at Rangers and have parted ways with Russell Martin, Matt Gill and Mike Williamson, with thanks for their hard work. When we took over the club this summer, we shared what we want to build for Rangers to win trophies in Scotland and be able to compete at a high level in Europe. We know achieving these goals will take time, but our performances and results have not been good enough. We know you are frustrated. We are too. We did not get this right, and it's our responsibility to fix it and get us back on track. A rigorous, thoughtful recruitment process is already underway, and we are treating it with the urgency it deserves. The 2 of us are deeply involved, and the evaluation will have our full attention until we are confident we have a leader with the character and skill set to deliver results. Moving forward, we are fully confident in our players who possess the talent and determination to succeed. At the same time, a great deal of important work is progressing across the club, building out a stable leadership and football structure under Patrick and Kevin's guidance, advancing detailed plans aligned with our long-term strategy, and beginning the early stages of investment planning for Ibrox. Your focus will rightly be what it is happening on the pitch, but this work also matters and will help lay the foundation for success in the future. Change is never easy, but we are not deterred by hard work. In fact, we see a great opportunity ahead. The season is not over, and we have plenty to play for in all 4 competitions. Together, we are committed to delivering the performances and results that you can be proud of. Your loyalty to this club through thick and thin is something we do not take for granted. We see the effort and emotion you put into supporting Rangers, and it drives us every day. We intend to earn your trust because we all share the same goal, restoring success to Rangers." Andrew and Parag. Stevie, what do you make of that?
I think it was needed to speak to the support. It just, the longer it had went on, I think you perhaps would have started to see, the questions of where are they, where's the leadership. So it went out straight away the very next day. Yeah. So that's good. It's probably as close to an apology as we're going to get. And I don't think that we're entitled to apologies in that, but I welcome it. I welcome the fact that they've come out and addressed it and said that, it more or less was a mistake, and it was up to them to fix it. So I like that leadership. Apart from that, the bits that stick out, Derek, this will come as a horrendous blow to them, because they will know as much as anybody else, and as much as everybody watching, that this is taking the shine off of what was supposed to be like a fantastic summer, in terms of they've spent a lot of money. They've they've taken over the club. We were supposed to all have our tails up and heading into the season. They've made a really poor appointment, and it hasn't worked. So they've now had to reset, and they have plans, Derek. They have plans in the stadium. They have plans on the footprint. They have plans which don't matter, and nobody's interested in, unless you get that pitch right, and what's going on it. So that will become as a major blow to them, and what they do next is interesting, because if they get this wrong again, massive question marks are being asked there.
Yeah.
And they have to get this one right. And no matter what appointment, and you have to get it right at Rangers, but the scrutiny now on Andrew and Parag is quite intense. But it shouldn't be lost on Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell either. And it was interesting to see where they were positioned in the statement as well, very much after that they had said they were coming in to take over and stuff, and they were leading this. So although the spotlight will very much, in the eyes of the fan, be on who do you want, is it Gerrard, is it Muscat, is it Derek McInnes, whoever the names are that are floating about for the supporters, it shouldn't be lost. Kevin Thelwell just a month ago saying that he was one of the best young coaches, and doubling down. Patrick Stewart has now overseen several blunders as in his position as chief exec, and he's only been there, Derek, for a year. And we can forgive people for making mistakes, but when these mistakes continually happen, Rangers fans will get every right to be questioning both Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell and their roles in it as well. So I'm very much, Russell Martin deserved to go, and it was the right decision. And I wish, I wish Russell Martin all the best. He tried, it didn't work out. I don't feel any kind of overwhelming negativity towards him now that he's gone. It was just the best thing for our football club. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, that's the end of it, because Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart, the latter, pretty much should be following him out the door. And Kevin Thelwell's position is very much up for scrutiny as well. So, Russell Martin is gone, Derek, but there's still questions there for me on where we go next.
Interestingly, he's been linked with the Luton job already. They sacked their coach, Matt Bloomfield, yesterday, which will be interesting if he goes back into management. I think he should just take a bit of a break and reassess what he's all about and his coaching aspirations, I reckon, Russell Martin. But you're bang on about Thelwell and Stewart. Those two, for me, have been unconvincing, to say the least, since coming into the club. And mentioned on the Q&A show yesterday, someone asked, will they have a major say in picking the successor? Because, let's be honest, there is very little belief that these guys know a Rangers manager when it's staring them in the face, given they've appointed Russell Martin after a lengthy and rigorous process, apparently. So, it's interesting that Parag and Andrew Cavenagh say they're going to be heavily involved in this process, which I think will allay some of those fears, I guess. Now, whether they can find a manager remains to be seen, but a number of coaches have already been linked with the vacancy. Touched on some of the names yesterday, Stevie. One that won't go away, Steven Gerrard, of course, and I've seen Gary McAllister was at an award ceremony, Jermaine Defoe as well, last night, and speaking about the vacancy. I'll read you what Gary Mack had to say on. He's been interviewed by Sky, folks. He said, that's a big question, but you can never say never do about a possible Rangers return. We had a wonderful time there. We really enjoyed our time there, and Stephen did an amazing job to get that 55th title. There have been 3 or 4 managerial changes since then, and Stephen is always going to be linked with Glasgow Rangers because he loved his time up there. But I don't know. He's been out the game for 6 or 7 months now, so you never know what can happen. Would you be up for that, Stevie? A return for Stevie G, Gary McAllister and the gang?
I don't think it comes without question. and I don't think anybody wants me to jinx it either, Derek. So it's one. Look, I think whoever gets this job and gets this position, I think that the days of a philosophy coach are very much gone. I don't want that at my club at all. I spoke about it in the summer with you quite a bit, and we ventured away, and Russell Martin came in, and we were very much, don't think this is going to work. I remember the criticism you got for saying you would have stuck with Barry, and it's always difficult when people ask you, but the truth is that, you know, whoever it is, we'll welcome in. But I'm of the belief it needs to be a man manager. It needs to be a strong figurehead.
Yeah.
When you look at, you know, you go back in my lifetime of successful Rangers managers, and, you know, latterly, just, you know, before I arrived on this great earth, you had Jock Wallace, and then you had Graham Souness, and then Walter. And then from Walter, you had Dick Advocaat. From Dick Advocaat, Alex McLeish, back to Walter. And then latterly, you know, we had Stephen Gerrard. All of them bringing success to the football club. And all of them had one thing in common, Derek. They were man managers. They were leaders. They were men. They were able to deal with the pressures of Rangers Football Club. And when you look at who's available, you know, I think that Stephen Gerrard is pretty much the candidate you would look at. But Kevin Muscat for me is certainly up there. He is somebody that intrigues me with his, you know, he's a winner. He's not afraid to make big decisions. He knows what's required at Rangers Football Club. He's immersed in Rangers Football Club. He still very much supports the club and keeps an eye on them.
Yep.
So, you know, a treble winner when he was here, he understands that as much as Stephen does. I don't know where Stephen Gerrard is. There's a lot of talk about his tax and everything else, but you cannot watch Gary McAllister and Jermaine Defoe and deny that they light up when talking about Rangers and the potential to come back up here. And you know what you're getting. Stephen Gerrard has an aura. He commands respect immediately. And listen, was it wonderful when he was here? No. Now, I'm not going to sit and lie to people. But what he did was he took us on a journey immediately, qualifying for Europe against Ufa. And then, you know, beating Celtic at New Year. These were big things, and people say to us, you know, Stephen Gerrard's this and that. Stephen Gerrard took over a Rangers team that got hammered 5-0 at Parkhead, with, ironically, Russell Martin in that team. And the team was pretty much over, Derek. It was, you know, they had to start from scratch. They only had a few. He transformed the likes of Alfredo Morelos. They found players like Joe Aribo, Calvin Bassey, and they built a team that got to a European final. And by the way, Gio, I'm not taking it away from Gio, but what I mean is they built that. And they didn't spend a hell of a lot of money doing it either, Derek. So there needs to be a bit of a realism when it comes to the job that Stephen Gerrard actually did. And yes, look, the cup record really poor. I understand that completely, but I often think that, you know, in our entitlement as Rangers support, we downplay the actual job that Stephen Gerrard done. And when he left Rangers were in a strong position. They were still in a cup semi-final in the league. They were about to embark on that European run. They were top of the league when he left. You know, foreseeably, Stephen could have added more trophies that season as well, but he chose to leave for other reasons. So, you know, Gerrard, for me, people will argue against it, and I understand why, but he has the stature for me, but so does Kevin Muscat. And I feel that if Stephen wasn't there and they wanted to venture away from something that they or Stephen Gerrard wasn't available, then I think that you start to look at Kevin Muscat really strongly as well. So, it's going to be interesting, Derek, to see where they go, but I think what we need is a leader. I don't want another coach. Some of the names that are linked would worry me, that we're going from the fire into the fire pan, and that would really worry me as well. So we just need to wait and see how it works out. But they have to get this one right, that's for sure.
Certainly do. Just on Muscat, he's in charge of Shanghai Port in China. They've got 4 league games remaining, currently 2 points ahead in that league. So, yeah, you'd imagine he wouldn't be leaving until that league season wrapped up, Stevie.
No, but I think, you know, if he's the right man for the job, you can wait 6 weeks. And then you go and ask somebody to take temporary charge, you know, of that. And people can say, you know, he's won leagues in, I think, what's it, Australia, China, and they're not the biggest and most attractive and everything else. Winning's winning, Derek. No matter where you are, and we've seen how hard it can be. And nobody rates the Scottish League. Nobody rates us up here, and this is a hard league to play and to win in. You know, so winning's winning no matter what people say about the standard of it. You've got a guy there in Kevin Muscat who is, for me, he knows what's required. He knows the identity of the football club, and he would be very high up in my list of potential Rangers managers.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you. It is an intriguing one. He was close, of course, when Rangers were looking for a manager to replace Michael Beale at the time, and Philip Clement got the nod. So it is one to keep an eye on, that's for sure. Lots of comments.
It's interesting, though, Derek, sorry, just to say, if we had appointed Kevin Muscat when we appointed Philippe Clement, do you think we would be in the position we are now 2 years later? And I'm not so sure. I think
it's hard to say.
Of course it is. But Kevin Muscat, you know, as a leader, as a man manager, was more, in my opinion, positioned to come in at that point. A lot of us are really attracted to his style of play, which is attacking, which is that dominant, no respect kind of style that he tries to do.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's what was supposed to be seen with Russell Martin. That's what we're given the big spiel when he was appointed.
Aggressive. Yeah, but I think there's actual, you know, the problem with Russell Martin is that there was no actual evidence to sum this up. He was coming on the back of a terrible performance with Southampton, mediocre performances with MK Dons and Swansea. And, you know, he went on that run with Southampton, I think 24, 25 games. And that's all we really had to judge this. And as much as, you know, we looked at his football and he says when it's right, it's good. We still dealt with, you know, calamitous defending and goals that really shouldn't have been conceded. And that, unfortunately, was what we got. Kevin Muscat doesn't come with that, Derek. He comes with a style, and he comes with, you know, aggression and that dominating factor as well. So, you know, there's a risk to everything. I'm looking at it objectively. I don't think there's a standout candidate. I think what we have is several options. And by the way, and this won't be popular, I'm sure, Derek McInnes, as far as a man manager, comes right into the bracket as well, as being somebody that knows what's required, knows the league, knows Rangers Football Club, would make us instantly more organised and more difficult to beat, etc., etc. Would he leave Hearts? I'm not sure. But if you're wanting a top three from me, Derek, that's where I am in terms of the kind of manager. I wouldn't want somebody like Danny Roll. I wouldn't want Mark Van Bommel, because I just don't think we have the time to allow these guys to do what they need to do. And we need somebody, Derek, that understands that Rangers Football Club isn't a project, that, you know, it's fine. We've got that line after St Mirren, we've got time and things like that. I'm sorry, you don't. You know, whoever comes in will be expected to go. If they come in before Dundee United, you will be expected to beat Dundee United. There's no time for you. There's no, this is Rangers. We need to start winning, and we need to start doing it yesterday. And that's the truth of the matter. And whoever comes in needs to understand the gravitas and what is required to take this football club back to where we believe it should be.
Yeah, I think on McInnes, I've seen Chris Boyd coming out yesterday, and Sun podcast says that if Rangers want McInnes, they'll make it happen. Certainly on him, I think he was keen on it before he went to Hearts, of course, but now the ownership wanted to go down a different route for a start. I don't think it would have been a popular choice at the time if Rangers went for Derek McInnes, but he would have got results, and Rangers would be in a much healthier position than they are now. So there is, I agree with you. I would have no issue with Derek McInnes taking over Rangers. I know some have a being, but I get it. When he turned down the job before, back in 2017, Rangers were, I know they're in a poor state of play at the moment, but they were a bit of a basket case back then, so I don't necessarily blame him for walking away from that situation. But he's shown he has the managerial credentials to get a team firing. And just look at Hearts at this point in time. They might not be playing well and blowing teams away, but they're getting results, and that's what Rangers need.
Derek, I think the biggest attraction there is that he is a man manager. He knows what's required. That he's not he's not you know, he's not a philosophy coach. He's not a flip chart coach. I want to move away from that. I need, when you look at Rangers in their history, which I've talked about, these are guys that are strong figureheads, strong man managers, and that's what we need. Excuse me, that's what we need at the football club, in my opinion. And people look at it, and that's all it is. I'm no different to anyone else, in my opinion. You know, means no more than anybody else's. But there'll be a lot of people watching this that maybe don't want that and that's absolutely fine. But it was important, Derek, no matter what, that we took these steps. And this is happening, so we can now look forward to who's next. I'd like to see it happen quickly. There's certainly no time for 7 interviews this time.
Nah.
That's for sure. So let's get this done. Let's get it done quickly, and let's begin to turn around this fortune. And I'm really interested to see if these players are as good as we hope they are, because I don't for one second believe that Bojan Majowski and Oliver Antman and players like that are what we are seeing from them. So we need a lot more, and we need a formation that the players can buy into and believe in, and a system that works. And ultimately, Derek, we need to get results. And, you know, as for the season and what it might bring, unfortunately, you're probably using it as a guide to what happens next year to proper evaluate what's going on within the squad and still be able to get results. And the thing is, we're still in domestic trophies. We just need to start winning. And whoever comes in, I wouldn't get too, you know, involved in, well, we'll get 5 games now. What happens this if we can put this? Just start winning. Just start getting results and see where it takes you. Start getting a team on the park that we can recognise that has the spirit and desire that we want and we kind of long for, and the fans will follow you. The rest, Derek, will take care of itself. Just start getting something that the fans can grasp towards and go from. And as I said, the rest will naturally follow. And that's why Steven Gerrard got 3 seasons, because he took them with, you know, he took the fans with him. Whoever comes in simply just needs to do that, get the results, get the team going. And we understand it'll be sticky. It's not going to be perfect. There's a lot of work to do in that squad on current viewing, but give us something that we can believe in and follow, and Rangers fans will do that.
Yeah, but the Gerrard stuff, I spent in the summer when he was heavily linked, of course. I had some doubts about him coming back. At that point, I just felt that he'd went to Villa, was a failure, went to Al Ettifaq and failed, and I wasn't sure Rangers were getting the same Steven Gerrard as he would have done back in 2018. I think he should
that's reasonable.
He should have won a treble in that 55 season. The 2 cup exits were poor. So it's, you look at it in blue-tinted specs and think 55, it was in the invincible season. It was really a good time. Can you replicate that? That's a big thing. But I think you would get smiles back on players' faces in training, and the fans would certainly be on board again. Which would
he galvanise a football club?
I reckon so. But the issue is, Stevie, if he comes in with this football structure that's in place at the moment, would that be something he would like to be a part of? Would he like a lot of say, like perhaps he had in his previous stints? The football club's changed from when he was last here, isn't it? So,
yeah, I mean, look, we can talk about Steven Gerrard and we can talk about Kevin Muscat or Derek McInnes or whoever else. The truth is that, you know, we can only speculate and we can only talk about it. I don't, as I said, I don't think there's an outstanding candidate for me. I think every single one, you know, when you talk about Kevin Muscat, you can even talk about his spell in Belgium, which didn't go really well. So that goes against him because people would be worried about that. When you talk about Steven Gerrard, you talk about the fact that, you know, he didn't win the amount of trophies he should have, and what's going to happen next. So there's loads of questions, Derek, in truth, regarding whoever's going to come in and take over. And even if you talk about Derek McInnes, he didn't want it last time. Why would he want it now? You know, he's not really... he's not really taking that big leap, you know, Hearts and Aberdeen and stuff like that, I understand, but why didn't he take it the first time? So, you know, and that's a fair comment as well. Like, does Steven Gerrard have the appetite to come back here?
That would be my concern.
So, of course it is, and that is absolutely reasonable. See people that come back and they say, Stevie, I'm not for this because this is why. It's all valid, and I understand it completely. I'm not sitting here saying that these are outstanding candidates that you know we shouldn't look past. I'm just saying that for me, we should be looking at that style, a man manager, somebody that can galvanise, somebody that can lead, rather than going in for a head coach or a philosophy coach that I just don't think works. And we've seen it now under various guises in the last few years, and it doesn't work. Gio was a coach. You know, Philip Clement, coach. Michael Beale, very much a coach. Russell Martin, now a coach. They don't work. We need a manager of this football club, a leader And that's where I am. And I understand, Derek, look, this will be polarising. People will think differently, and I welcome that. I have no problem with that. I'm not saying I'm right. It's just where I am in terms of what I believe we need next.
Yeah, I want to get to this because thank you to Bluebells or Blues, kindly donated to the channel. Thank you, buddy. Talk is cheap. He's talking about Thirlwell Stewart and the football department. Their actions so far have been damning. Bear in mind, it's only a few days ago they've sanctioned the Robbie Thirlwell appointment. They need to get this appointment spot on. They absolutely do, that's for sure. And just before we round up, I just got an email in there, hot off the press, and we've got the latest bookmakers odds for the new Rangers boss, Stevie Gerrard leading the way 5-4. Sean Dyche 64. Kevin Muscat 5-1. Derek McInnes 8-1. Rafa Benitez 9-1. Danny Rule 10-1 alongside Mark Van Bommel. Barry at 14-1 alongside Gary O'Neill, the former Wolves boss. So that is the latest odds. Yeah, it will be interesting who Rangers go for, but like you, Stevie, it's important they get someone in. And I think, well, like you say, if it is Muscat, then they would, I'd imagine, have to wait until next month to get him in. Is it worth the wait on that front? But yeah, according to Cavenagh and Marathe, they are on the ball, and they'll be looking to appoint someone soon. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed to all the channels, folks, as ever, YouTube, the website, and all the social media accounts. Is actually a very interesting piece from Joshua on the website this morning, just on the sacking of Russell Martin. So I'd urge you to go and check it out. Stevie, thank you for coming on again. Have you got a piece from your good self on the website at some point?
Yeah, I've written and sent that across to the editorial team last night of Joshua and Chris, so I'm sure they'll fix that and get that out this morning. I actually read Joshua's piece. It is long. So get yourself comfy for reading that, but it's well worth it. A very nice piece from Joshua as well. So it's going to be interesting, Derek. Be an interesting few weeks, and we'll just need to wait and see where it brings. Much like exact same happened with Philip Clement. I'm off on holiday tomorrow, so that
yes,
always seems to
every
time I'm off on holiday, Derek, something happens in the world of Rangers. So off to Salou for a wee bit. So yeah.
Yeah, a wee bit of winter.
A wee bit of R&R, a wee bit of, it's been a tough few months, you know what I mean? So let's come back revigored and see where Rangers are heading. I just want, do you know what, Derek? Every single one of us wants to be on. We did the show last week and we talked about, can we go and beat Graz and can we beat Falkirk? And it kills me to sit here and say, no, I don't think we can. Because there's no evidence there to support it. None of us want to come on and be ultra negative. None of us want to come on and be that. But, we have to be honest. All we want to do is come on and say, yes, I'm starting to see things that I can believe in. I'm starting to enjoy this again. I can see what we're trying to do. I know it's not going to be perfect. We're not going to win every game. We might not go in Europe now. We might have a really difficult time in the league. I understand that. But see if we can see where it's heading. Everybody will galvanise and get behind that, and Ibrox will begin to fill again, and we'll be able to, get behind it. That's all I want, to be able to have a smile, come on here and say, look, Derek, it wasn't great, but you know what? There was real signs there that it's heading in the right direction. A good result, not wonderful. We'll take that and build. I would bite your hand off for that any day of the week. So let's hope that that's what we'll get.
I just want to identify with the Rangers team again.
Aye, that's it.
That's what we want. Yeah, that is what we want. So over to you, Rangers. Sort it out, please. Right. Thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in. And yeah, we'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.